Good afternoon. Ignore that. Please, dear God, please ignore that. Hi, I'm Elliot. Welcome back to GoldvnTragvdy. That just feels so much better to say than the last name, which I'm not telling you because that's not our current name. I have a steaming hot cup of coffee right here, and I thought that since I am in seminary pursuing a Master's of Divinity, that I would make a video about that, because when I was looking for this journey, there wasn't anyone outside of seminaries that could tell me what going to seminary was like, and there wasn't really anyone on the internet that was like, going to seminary is X, Y, and Z. So here's what we're gonna cover today. Excuse me, my glasses are falling down. I hate it when my glasses fall down. Anyway, here's what we're gonna cover today. We've gotta kind of make it quick. We're gonna talk about looking for a seminary. I just completely blanked on what else we had to talk about. Okay. God damn it, I'm gonna have to edit this one a lot. Okay. Here's what we're gonna talk about today. Here's what we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about looking for a seminary. We're gonna talk about what you're gonna learn at seminary. We're gonna talk about what that means for you, job prospect wise. We're gonna talk about following our academic route after, if we wanna do an academic route post to divinity school. And we're gonna talk about the most important thing, that is student care, because seminary deconstructs and then reconstructs and then destroys and then reconstructs again. So you really need to, really need to be very conscientious of what is their student care program. Excuse me again. What is their student care program, and does it fit my needs? Because if it doesn't fit your needs, then you have to ask the question, do they have a student care program that can meet my needs? So my student care program here doesn't fit my needs, but they have a program that helps me find a way to fit my needs. This is not a diss on the school I go to student care program. It is actually quite phenomenal. I just have a lot of religious trauma. And so I need more than maybe your average student does. Although in the modern era, who does not have religious trauma? Not the point. Let's get started, shall we? So, what you're gonna be doing when you're looking for a divinity school, a seminary to follow through, is you want to know sort of where you're going. So, one, do you have a call? I really hate that. I hate asking people if they have a call, because I think it's so very much yeah, please, let me into the deepest, darkest part of your soul and talk about how is the Spirit moving in you? What is the Spirit calling you to? No, that's really hard. I don't expect you to do that. But also you sort of need to know, where is God calling you to? What's the next step? If you don't, even if you don't know what God's calling you to, I don't know what God's calling me to. What is the next step? I don't know that either, but you've got 3 years to sort of figure it out. But if you have a vague idea, oh, I want to go into academia, I want to go into parish ministry, I want to go into missions, I want to go into, let's have a conversation about if you want to go into missions. Why? Where's that coming from? Missions requires a whole lot more deconstruction than just a normal parish ministry does, because there's a lot of imperialist and racist sentiments. Not that you are imperialist or racist, just know that there's a lot of unpacking that comes with feeling a call to mission. I'm sure that you are doing it for the right reasons, and that God is truly calling your soul. But at some level, also have a conversation with people that are in missions to make sure that your viewpoints of the world and sort of what is needed on the mission field line up, rather than you just going and doing missions. Solid. I love you. Please don't take that the wrong way. Where was I going next? Oh yes, you want a seminary that sort of has a program that helps build you up in these spaces. And most seminaries are general enough that they do. The seminary I go to, and I know Princeton does, I know Yale does, I don't know Harvard does, but like Harvard is a mess. New Brunswick does have centers that sort of help prepare you. So like my seminary is not a seminary to go to if you want to go into academia. It just isn't. Like it has a lot of strengths. It's academic. I mean, it does have academic strength. Don't get me wrong on that. But its strength is not in academia, if that makes sense. It is preparing parish ministers. It is preparing missionaries. It is preparing paraministerial workers. It's preparing chaplains and all sorts of other very good workers for the faith. But academics are not few and far between, but they are a little bit harder to come by at the seminary I go to, which is totally fair. If you want to go become an academic and you want to come, I mean, Duke is really the space for launching. You could go to an Ivy League like Princeton or Yale or Harvard. Yeah, but you really need a launching pad. So that could be Duke. That could be, all of a sudden I've blanked. It's not the University of Chicago. It's a very specific, it might be McCormick might be the name of it. It's a traditionally black, like a historically black seminary. That's a phenomenal jumping off point to go into academia as well from the ministry. And I think that might be McCormick down in Chicago, but I can't remember exactly. Yeah, all of those are really good spaces to sort of start and to pursue ministry. Now, again, you might not want to go into ministry. You might have a calling to academia or to politics or because pastoral care and politics are the same thing. Well, no, they're not the same thing. Pastoral care is politics done well. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that you see, like when you're reading about medieval history, you see so many bishops constantly intertwined into political matters. Because pastoral care is politics done well. All that to be said. Yes. Okay. I'm 8 minutes in. I'm 8 minutes in. I'm going to edit this pretty heavily, actually. So, 2, what are you going to study at seminary? That is a question that I had, and I looked over the curriculum and I was like, is this the general curriculum, or is it like very specific to this space? So I've done a lot of research on what you should be learning when you're in seminary, because I have a lot of, to use the Enneagram, which is very a la mode, a la mode, or en vogue, in sort of Christian seminarian communities right now, is I'm very much a 6. So I have a lot of like anxious, I have to reassure myself sort of energy. That's not fair to 6s. I just sort of need external reassurance from time to time, especially on situations like this. So what you're normally going to be learning is you should be learning the Hebrew, like classical Hebrew, Koine Greek, which Koine Greek is spoken from sort of the rise of Alexander the Great to around the mid-Byzantine Empire, like the the end of the High Middle Age, or end of the early Middle Ages, with sort of the decline of the Byzantine Empire. basically there's a handoff in the middle part of the medieval period that hands the baton of Koine Greek to Arabic, which, like, yeah, so fair, so understandable. Predominant cultural powers, right? Coffee sip. Okay. Yes. So you'll be learning Hebrew, be learning Koine Greek. Generally, those are within your first 2 years. By the way, a seminary degree generally takes 3 years if you're living in the United States. I believe that I'm using Oxford as a guide, but their Masters of Divinity is, I think, 1.5 years. It's from a September to a December. So I think it's about 1.5 years. But that's just the UK system. Yes, so Hebrew and Greek, you should also be taking introductory kind of surveys of the Old and New Testaments, and then, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. You should be, generally, there will be pieces on personal and spiritual formation. That sort of ties into student care, but you sort of need to find a way to care for your own spirit before you can care for your flock. Before you can care for your flock. You will also probably study church history, philosophy, theology, pastoral care. Yes. And theology, when they say theology, they don't mean theology. Well, I mean, they do mean theology, but you're going to spend most of your time with theologians in your church history courses, which is a weird, very odd way of saying it. But then when you have like specific theological courses, that means systematics. So what they're going to teach you to do there is you're going to take your theology and you're going to put it into a concrete system. So you might believe Nicene Christology, but where does that fit in your overall theology, especially if you're teaching like an Arian belief of the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, right? So like you need to have a fully Trinitarian view on something in order for your system to work effectively in sort of that example. Theology and philosophy are constantly like in sync, but also butting heads. Think Neoplatonism, think scholasticism, the Enlightenment. Sort of the battle between Voltaire and Rousseau, the need for the church and the need for secularism, balance of power and balance of, that constant battle between the temporal and the spiritual, right? Yes. So that's sort of what you'll learn I might not have to edit this that heavily as well. You might just see me have a weird moment. Yes. So that's what you're going to learn. That's what you're going to learn in seminary. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of what I said I was going to talk about next, and all I can remember is student care. Oh, yes. Let's talk a little bit about how your studies will be structured. So every school does it differently, but generally, you will have sort of a block of classes Monday, you'll have a block of classes Tuesday, and you'll just repeat those. So you might repeat them Wednesday, Thursday. You might also repeat them Thursday, Friday. It just depends on the institution. Generally, you will be studying, again, this is generally, you should be studying your Old Testament with your Hebrew. So your Hebrew courses will probably be a full year, whereas your Old Testament will probably be a single semester. So let's say that your first semester, you're taking introductory Hebrew, your second semester, you take the second level of Hebrew and introductory Old Testament studies, or introductory Hebrew scripture studies. right? Yeah. All of that is sort of to make sure that you can like dig into the text and the language that originally came with your belief system. You will also probably, depending on how evangelical or not evangelical your institution is, you will probably also have to be able to sort of comprehend Aramaic. Maybe it just depends on how much you need to dig into the Talmud, because that can be very helpful in understanding sort of the contextualization within the Jewish tradition of the Hebrew law and the Pentateuch and a lot of the other writings, especially Isaiah, has a lot of kind of picking apart within the Talmud, and so that can just be very helpful to have. So yeah. Okay, finally, this is a 16-minute video. Holy shit. Sorry for the swearing, but like also true, 16 minutes. It's a lot of time. You need to be very cognizant of what their student care program is, because you are going to be basically torn apart in your belief systems and confronted with a lot of very jarring ideas and a lot of very jarring realities. One of the big ones I think that gets young people a lot is that when Christ died, or not even when Christ died, when the apostles died, the way that we see God now is not in any capacity the same as the way that the apostles saw God when they died. It just isn't. And this didn't really start until about the 4th century, our view of God. And so one of the things that people get attacked with a lot is, well, you know, this is a very imperial, a very Roman imposed idea down onto God. And that can be very jarring to hear that your version of God is not the real God. It's not the way that people used to understand God. But I would also say that, you know, those jarring moments force us to learn more about our faith, to interact with our faith more fully, more wholeheartedly. Seminary is largely a very wholehearted place. And in order to keep those wholehearted moments, you need to have space to talk to someone about your sort of struggles and where you need support and where you need love and where you feel like you need to give love. And so you need a very good student care system. Again, I think that if you go to any of the like major Reformed or Anglican seminaries in the United States of America, or even really in Canada, you are going to get a good student care service. But I think if I had to say, here's one that I've seen that has a very, very good student care service, I think that would be Calvin College, or Calvin Theological Seminary. While I don't agree with much of the theology sort of touted by the school, or much of like concur with their sort of hiring, firing, and recruiting practices, I also think that they are very good at caring for their students in a very wholehearted manner. That is not to say that other theological institutions are not. I just think that the model that Calvin uses is probably the most wholehearted. And if, again, like I said earlier, if your student care can't provide you with that, can they provide you with support external to your community, whether that's financial or, you know, referential, to a support system that can, whether that is queer support groups or, a therapist, or, you know, 1,000 other things that could help support you in this journey, because you need space and strength to be able to process sort of the things that are being stabbed into your faith and then drawn out, and you know, you're being told, okay, you need to heal this up sort of in a concrete, healthy manner so that you're teaching from your scars and not your wounds. And most, from my experience, from what I've seen and heard, most spaces are willing to give you that support, to help you find that support and to financially support you within that. But all that being said, I'm sure that some places simply don't have the means or can't or whatever. So yeah, we're 20 minutes in, almost 21 minutes, so it feels like it's time to wrap this up. I have no idea whether I covered everything or not, but I feel like I've touched on everything I wanted to touch on. Yeah, I hope this helped. If you have any questions about what it's like to study for tests or to write papers, I'm happy to answer those questions with another video. Leave a comment about it down below. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends and family, share with people that are like, I feel like I need to go to divinity school, but I don't know how. Like, yeah, I'd love to be helpful in this area, because I remember when I was looking, there was not really anyone on YouTube talking about this. So I hope that in some small way this has been helpful. Okay, again, like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the little bell so that you see every time I post. I love you all so much. Keep calm and keep on keeping on. We will see you all in my next video. Bye.